Okay, so I'm really excited about this. I have known Lauren McKeaney for quite some time. I have only just met her, though, a couple of months ago. And since then, we've had such great conversations. We had a brief chat, what was it, a couple of weeks ago, and we both laughed. And I said, oh, we should be recording this because it was just so beautiful. We were having just so much fun and just engaging and relating so nicely. And you're new in my life, but you already feel like such a warm and close person to me. So thank you for that. It just shows what an incredible person you are. So I'm really excited to share this experience with everybody. So welcome everyone to an episode of In Their Own Words, which is a series where we provide a platform for people with lived experience of skin picking to share their stories, insights, and lessons learned. So as I said, I'm so excited to welcome Lauren McKeaney. She's the founder and CEO of the Picking Me Foundation. Lauren has lived with dermatillomania or skin picking disorder for most of her life, and she has turned her personal journey into a mission to raise awareness, support others, and provide resources for people affected by skin picking. And today she's here to talk to us, to share her story, her advocacy work, and insights for anyone managing skin picking or who's here in an attempt to support someone who they care about. So we're really grateful to have you here.
Oh my goodness, Meryl, thank you so much for that intro. Yeah, I feel the love, I send it all back. I feel the exact same warmness and connection with you. I think it speaks to a lot about our community when we meet and feel that. So just thank you for sharing that. And what a lovely intro. What an honor to be here and speaking with all of you. I'm just lit up by the BFRB community, especially getting to share during BFRB week. So just thank you so much for having me here.
You're most welcome. And for me, we're already into the end of the first day of BFRB week, and you've basically just started it. So I know that you have so much planned for this week. I'm sure you have a lot to do today, and we're going to hear all about that a little bit later. So for those who don't know you, they've seen your face for the first time, but they've heard about your name somewhere. I know that you've done a lot of media. You really are quite a pronounced person in the BFRB community. Help us learn a little bit more about you so we can get to know a little bit more about who is Lauren.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you know, it's wild to even be sharing or think that where I'm in today, I never thought this was something I'd ever speak about. So I just want to share that for anyone out there who might feel something similar. It's not a leap, you know, it's a lot of baby steps, but that kind of progress is certainly freeing and something I think that's out there for all of us. I'm someone who severely suffered with skin picking from age 5 to about 28, 29. It followed me growing up and affected every area of my life, from deciding if I'd have sleepovers at friends' house, but only if they had, you know, black bed sheets like me, because I never knew if I'd bleed in their bed and how to handle that. Or being misdiagnosed for self-harming, or being at summer camps. I remember always wearing sweatpants, you know, partly to cover all the sores from all of my skin picking, but partly because when the fuzz from the pants would adhere to the healing scab, it made the scab even more of a sensory effect, gave it more of a sensory effect when I picked at it. I didn't really understand what I was doing, but I knew I thought I was alone. I thought I was the only one out there doing any of this. And I felt very broken, you know, everyone seemed to tell me to stop and I couldn't. So then to me, that meant there was something wrong with me. And Yeah, it was hard. I really tried to appear fine and flourishing, and I was like a master of deflection. Don't ask me too many
Mm,
questions, don't look at my skin too closely. And I had like an answer for everything. Sometimes I'd tell people, it was bug bites or it was eczema or, chicken pox again somehow.
mm,
And it was really affected my identity and knowing myself, at a time during like our formative years when you're really getting to know who
mhm,
you are.
mhm.
And so that kind of added to the struggle too. People say mental illness is the invisible illness. And, this was pretty visible.
Yeah,
And uh
yeah,
and not just the effect isn't just skin deep though, why I did experience lots of abscesses, cellulitis, multiple infections, IV
mm,
antibiotics, oral antibiotics, and then in 2014 I contracted the life-taking bacteria MRSA in my thigh from just a small little
yeah,
area I'd picked like any other time, and
yeah,
but it was there. It was at the hospital. I was there for 2 weeks. I had a wound vac, like a vacuum put in my thigh
yeah,
that
yeah.
like helped the infection and went on to a wheelchair, a walker and physical therapy. But before I left, I heard a nurse say it looks like she has dermatillomania, who just saw all the polka dots like on my skin from scarring and
Mhm,
sores.
mhm.
And my ears lit up. I was like, I need to, what is this word? I want to know everything about it. Oh my gosh, there's something I have. I want to take something and be cured. And as
Yeah,
we know, that wasn't
yeah.
really the case, and so I did feel armed, almost with this armor and having a word. Uh,
Mm,
it was like I
mhm.
could say I had it. It didn't have me, it gave me
Yeah,
something to say I had, and that felt
yeah.
validating. Um,
Mm,
but there wasn't a lot of people talking about it when I left the hospital.
yeah.
And the first person who asked me what happened at the hospital, what happened to your leg, I said, "Oh, I have dermatillomania." And that
Mhm.
moment was so unlike anything else that I haven't shut up since. And yeah, that led to sharing more, using hashtag picking me, sharing about my daily journey
Mm,
with managing. People joined the conversation online. We formalized as a nonprofit in 2016 here in Chicago, but we offer worldwide services, now running the largest skin picking support group online, the largest and longest running in its seventh year, having seen over
wow,
5,600
wow.
attendees.
That's
And
amazing.
I'm just honored and grateful to work for and with my people. I think we're a special
Yeah.
community that is so deserving of full, big, beautiful lives. And
Mhm.
that's what I'm dedicated in my life to making sure we all get.
Yeah. I have so much to respond to. First of all, I've been in the mental health industry for my entire adult life. So that's 20 years. So everyone can do the math and identify how old I am. And I've been working in different spaces in mental health. And recently it's been excoriation, skin picking, and hair pulling. That's recent in the last 3 years. And I've been facilitating support groups for all the different challenges, including anxiety, depression, and postnatal depression as well. And when I was exposed to the BFRB community, it really was quite a culture shock because it was so different to what I'm normally experiencing. And I am continually pleasantly surprised that the BFRB community is something I've never experienced. There is just, and I'm saying this genuinely, there is just so much genuine care for one another. There is very little, if not no, criticism or judgment from others to another. And there is just like this feeling, this energy, this vibe that is very different. It's a very, very, very serious illness. very serious. Yet the energy that comes from the individuals is just so powerful. And I often do have a lot of the support groups that I facilitate in the evenings. And to my disadvantage, by the end of the groups, I'm so energized and just like full of life. I've got to go back to sleep, and it's a real challenge. But it's just evident of just how incredible these groups are. And the groups are not like this because of the people that facilitate them. The groups are the way that they are because of the people that attend. So it's homage to the BFRB community.
Wow, that's
I just really think
so
that's
well
important to share. Yeah.
So well said, Meryl. I completely agree with you. And I even think some
Yeah.
of the secret sauce to our healing
Mhm.
is when we're in those group scenarios and caring for others, like you pointed out, which is such a part of what we do as BFRBers. When we offer the, hey, have you tried putting fake nails on to help as a blocker? When we offer a tip and help others in something we're also struggling with,
Yeah.
there's something in that that is like the secret
Yeah.
sauce of
Yeah.
that expedites or at least helps me maintain my recovery.
Yeah. I agree. And again, in the groups that we facilitate, a lot of the people that are in the groups, like the program that we have for trichotillomania and excoriation, so it's skin pick and TrichStop, they're really great programs and they really have shown to be effective. But the guys that are in the support groups, they often say like the support groups are one of their favorite parts of the program because it's an opportunity for them to connect and just be able to share with someone else stuff that they're going through, that they're experiencing, where others can understand what it is all about. And knowing that whatever I'm going to say, as long as it's in a respectful, obviously, manner, I'm not going to be judged or criticized by it. And these people really get me. And that's such an important part of this disorder, is feeling connected and feeling seen and feeling heard.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. It's like even at the core, to come back to getting a name, even it's you
Mm.
can't change what you don't know. So if someone isn't seeing you or you're not heard, and even as the word itself, if it's not recognized, what you're doing isn't known, how are we supposed to change anything? I mean, that I just remember
Yeah.
being told you can't change what you don't know, and I'm like, oh,
Mm.
so if this wasn't known until
Mm.
2013, it helps me
Mm-hmm.
understand a little bit about things like relationships with um, people who weren't armed with the tools to help me to yeah,
Yeah.
I understand a
Yeah.
little bit more about that. Do
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Yeah. Absolutely. And I think that's what I wanted to add is I wanted you to remind me of the year that you were in hospital, because it kind of then is resonating with me that it skin picking and hair pulling was only formally recognized as their own disorder under the umbrella of OCD related disorders in 2014. That's very late. We know that in research, hair pulling in particular was discovered or identified in the 1800s. So what happened? It just got left behind and forgotten about. So the fact that the nurse who had seen you and who spotted some signs and was able to name and label it was incredible, you
Yeah,
know, because people back
absolutely.
then, even today, are not able to pick up the signs and symptoms. And we are 10, 11, 12 years down the line already, you
Right.
know?
Right. And
Yeah.
so you're spot on. It's 2013 was in the DSM, and then by 2014 I'm in the hospital again, and
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
it's almost like I wish I could believe that at 2013 a memo went out to everyone, like, so hey, now everyone
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
must know about, but that's not the
Yeah.
case. So that's why we're, in
Yeah.
2025, and
Yeah.
a lot of what we
Mm,
have to do, what we do at Picking Me is we start with awareness and
mm,
trainings, training
yeah.
estheticians, training clinicians, just on education of what BFRBs are, sharing
Mm,
lived experience to help them understand how to offer support and help. But
yeah.
it's
Yeah.
yeah, it's something.
I just wanted to go back to when you were describing, thinking about or planning sleepovers with your friends. And I think thinking back for me, like my biggest concern was just leaving, like my mom. I didn't want to sort of, leave her behind. That was my biggest concern. For you to have to think about the color of the sheets and like what they would say and how you're going to manage that, that is so much for such a little person to have to process. Um, what was the support like for you? Did your parents know? Did other family members know? If they did, like how were you being supported during that time? What was it like for you?
When I was younger, it was difficult. It was hard. I isolated a lot and hid a lot. It became a very secret behavior, as much as I
Hmm.
could keep it a secret. Um,
Yeah.
and so I was able to, in some senses, get away with uh, appearing like nothing was going on, at least to my belief. Um, but there's only so much like, camouflage and concealer and a peppy attitude can
Mhm.
do,
Mhm.
Um, and I remember though feeling incredibly upset, mad at myself that I could, everyone said to stop and I couldn't do that. And everyone said it with such ease, from people I looked up to and loved, like family, but then
Yeah.
also professionals. Like I remember being so confused when I was a little girl that, I looked up to doctors. I revered them. I had to see many, multiply. I'm a premature baby
Mm.
who's severely asthmatic. And then, but when I was taken to them lab rat style, doctor to doctor, and showing my
Mm.
skin each time and being told to just stop, and I say okay, and I'm like, these professional, these are they're telling me I must be able to just stop. So, wow, I must really be messed up if
Yeah.
I can't do
Yeah.
that. Um,
Yeah.
and I didn't talk to friends about it. Not until more like high school, did friends start kind of pointing it out, or bullying was more of a thing. Or I remember a high school nurse accused me of self-harming by grabbing my arm
Mhm.
during passing classes during a
Yeah.
period break, and she grabbed
Yeah.
and opened sores, and it hurt so
Oh.
bad,
Mm.
physically, but it also, I was so ashamed at what she was stopping me for and accusing me
Yeah.
of in front of my
Yeah.
classmates. So it, like, hurt inside. And
Mhm.
then in college, I was reported to a college counselor for meth use, based on my face.
Mhm.
And,
Mhm.
and I there when everything around you, when no one can make sense of, including yourself, of what is going on, I think it's a really lonely place to be in. That's why I am
Yeah.
so happy to have um a diagnosis that's available to our skin picking sufferers out there. um but even that's then only the next beginning. It's like, once you get that, then okay, now let's begin recovery. So
And at the time when you were visiting all these doctors, did they, I know that you mentioned that when the first time you heard dermatillomania was when the nurse mentioned it. At that time when you were visiting all these doctors, did they ever like explain to you that it was like something else, or that it had a name, or like what were they trying to, how were they trying to diagnose, or other than just, oh, stop what you're doing? How were they explaining this behavior to you?
Yes. So I remember times, I remember my mom and I sitting with one doctor, kind of disheartened and frustrated and frightened again at being here with, bleeding up and down, and him
Yeah.
saying that this was atopic dermatitis. But it was a new term to us. It was a big word to us. And we were like, oh, surely this must be atopic dermatitis. And
Yeah.
we clung to
Okay.
that. And
Mm.
but nowhere in atopic dermatitis is it, are you repeatedly picking at the wound yourself, and do you have an inability to
Mm.
stop? That's skin picking disorder. And but it was
Yeah.
it was something to say. I'd I would self-harming. I was one doctor talked to me and my mom about agoraphobia, and my inability
Okay.
to go outside. I wasn't going outside though because I could be sitting anywhere and bleed. I was tired of going to dinner and holding the tablecloth under the dining table against my bleeding
Yeah.
arm while I'm trying
Yeah.
to,
Yeah.
appear like I'm eating dinner. And so I did
Mm.
choose to stay inside a lot with with that isolating and secrecy of this all. But that was a misdiagnosis again, and
Yeah.
um, yeah, eczema was brought up. Um, Acne, I was treated for acne at a very young age, put on acne meds when I wasn't in my mind, because of skin picking, we scan a lot, right? I
Mm-hmm.
don't even
Mm-hmm.
realize I'm doing it all the time, but I'm
Mm-hmm.
scanning.
Mm-hmm.
That's spreading bacteria on my skin. So that's what I was
Yeah.
doing. I just needed to
Yeah.
not scan and wash my hands more. I didn't need all the acne meds,
Yeah.
but so maybe those are some of those misdiagnosis experiences.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people in the community often feel that secrecy, that isolation, and then comes the shame. Um, how did you then, if you did, how did you transition from that shame and that secrecy? What was that like, and what was that moment for you? And take us through a little bit about that.
Absolutely. I think it's definitely been a journey. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
perhaps not overnight, but there were
Yeah.
signs along the way, even before the ultimate moment where I remember when I was first asked what happened to your leg, and I answered honestly for the first time because I had
Yeah.
something I could say and said dermatillomania. And I think that the fact that the world didn't end there, that
Mm-hmm.
the world kept going, the man just
Yeah.
nodded, I moved forward, and we continued
Yeah.
our lives, was such a showed me how possible this was, and I
Mm.
wanted more. And it showed up in like that in different ways. The first time I wore pimple patches, um,
Mm-hmm.
I was familiar with them at home, putting them at home as a strategy to help block my fingers from picking, but also promote healing. And
Yeah.
I would only wear them inside though. And I really needed to keep this area covered on my face, but I was
Mm.
ashamed
Mm.
to keep wearing it outside. And I remember when I did, I started by answering the door with them on. And that was, and then taking my dog and then going out to full dinners and then traveling, and they're on for 2 days. And it's
Yeah.
just such a testament to like our 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 capabilities. I
Mm-hmm.
think our willingness to go after the life we deserve to live. And the second
Yeah.
you realize that the shame is such a environment that we're kind
Mm-hmm.
of creating and living in on ourselves, and you step out of that,
Yeah.
you I don't know, you breathe different, and you want to breathe like that.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. So what advice do you have for someone who's watching right now, whether it's during this particular session or later in the recording, whether it's someone who is picking and they're really struggling, or if it's a loved one who's watching and they are desperately trying to find ideas or solutions or answers, what would you say to them?
Yes. So I would say that this is management is a multifaceted approach. So you want to think of not even a tool or a tool belt, but tool belts. And
Yeah.
kind of taking on this willingness. I call it this mental willness, right? To take on doing this. And it really took me taking on my management as like, okay, I'm gonna really research and become aware and understand when my hand is, maybe log about it, maybe try the fidgets, participate, do things. When I took on that attitude instead of the attitude being try to stop, try to stop, try to stop, and I gave myself like actions to take to make progress, that was super helpful in attacking this multifaceted approach. And then in the tools, for those tools in the tool belts, you want a team, build that team of your loved ones, someone to support you, whether friend, family, coworker, support group member, but build that team, that community, incorporate the medical team, working with a therapist, but also a dermatologist or esthetician to help combat picking or pulling triggers. I think in, there's three really important things that I actually talk about in my upcoming book, and I call it altering your environment, using a blocker, or setting a cue. So if you alter your environment, you would dim the lights or you would cover the mirror. And if you are using a blocker, you would put on band-aids or wear fake nails. And if you were setting a cue, you would wear jingly bracelets or something that alerts you to when your hands are moving. And remembering those three things in kind of the areas you pick. Fidgets are helpful, but I remember when I was first handed a stress ball, I was like, thank you, now what? This is cute, but how is this my treatment? It was very deflating and almost demeaning to be given that as my therapy. But developed ways to make the fidgets work. I mean, with the fidget, the best fidget you're gonna use is the one you're going to use. That's the best fidget. You want to get something that lights you up sensory. Is it a visual stimulation? Is it tactile, the way it feels? Is it repetitive? Is it too loud? Is it loud enough? You want to have them visible, sprinkled around your environments. They're not going to work in a shoebox under your bed. All my fidgets get a home, which is like a clear container. So something clear so I can see it when it's sitting on my desk and see a couple inside of a fidget home. And attach fidgets to locations, have your car fidget, your desktop fidget, your nighttime fidget. Give them one job, one purpose. Let's make this more serious and to have a better effect from it. I'd also offer all of these things, all of these strategies. Us BFRBers, we're so okay, ready? We're a little perfectionistic, we're a little sensitive, which is wonderful. When we're going to do something, we're going to get it done. We care so much about others. And when we're going to take on a job, we're going to achieve it. We are accomplishers. And I think it's really frustrating that we can't accomplish stopping our skin picking. But when we change the goals from being, okay, my goal is to never pick again. If we change that goal and we make really small, bite-sized mini nuggets of a goal, we can actually start achieving them and have these winning moments and build. So an example would be, my goal isn't to stop picking or to wear pimple patches every single night from now on. It's to put pimple patches in my Amazon cart. Now, can I achieve that? Likely. I'm feeling good about that one. And once they're in the cart, then I'll hit order, and that's the next goal. And then once they arrive, then the goal is to put them by my bed. And you set these mini goals.
Achievable. Yeah. Yeah.
Those would be some of my
Um,
tips.
Thank you so much. I think they are practical and achievable tips that everyone can try and achieve. And you talking about covering a mirror, it reminded me of, I follow you on social media and I encourage everyone to do the same. You shared also about a couple of weeks ago, you were visiting a different city or something like that, and you went to a hotel and you called ahead. Please share that story with the participants. You
Yes,
called ahead and you said, "Hey, I've got this thing. Please help me." You remember what I'm talking about? Can
absolutely,
you share that,
absolutely.
please?
Oh my
I thought
goodness,
it
yes.
was I thought it was the most amazing, most thoughtful thing I have seen in such a long time. So please, yeah, tell the
Oh my
story.
goodness. Thank you so much for that. Well, I was traveling and I filled out in the request form of the
Okay.
booking my hotel online, which was only a couple words, so it was hard to say what I
Yeah.
wanted to say in such a short space. But I shared that I had skin picking disorder and that mirrors were quite triggering for me, and it would be incredibly helpful if anyone could tape up a piece of paper or a post-it with a helpful note of self-love to help me meet myself with joy before I looked for perceived imperfections. And I
Yeah.
sent them in and to check out Picking Me if to learn more. And
Yeah.
then I got an email from the hotel kind of confirming what my request was, which was so thoughtful. But just kind of saying that they got the request. And I kind of forgot for a moment that I did that. And when I walked into
Yeah.
this hotel room, my breath was taken away. Their staff,
Hmm.
and I learned after, even after taking these pictures, worked together to write so many beautiful mantras and moments of
Yes.
self-love. They
Yeah.
covered the two mirrors, including the magnifying mirror, which is such a
Hmm.
tantalizing pull, with these beautiful notes and marker written notes of love. And I found
Mm.
out that it was truly amazing. It was incredible. I documented it, shared
Yeah,
with
it
my
was.
community,
Yeah.
was so proud to be part of this moment with them, with this hotel. And I learned though, in getting to meet one of the staff members after,
Mm.
that
Mm.
she just learned about dermatillomania and believes she
Yeah.
has dermatillomania.
Wow.
And
Wow.
it's just, I mean, I know the stats are 1 out of 20. I believe that is low. That everyone picks something. I think there's a scale of severity, but this woman who is a new friend was
Yeah.
is part of our community and didn't even know, and here she is helping our community,
Mm.
and it's just
Yeah.
I'm just
Yeah.
so lit up by for having something so difficult. There's something so beautiful in the people it brings together.
It was such an, you were not, love, how do I put this in words? You were not given love, you were engulfed and surrounded by love. It was so overwhelming. It was such an incredible act of kindness. And they didn't have to do that. I mean, they could have chosen not to, comply with your request, but I'm so grateful that they did, because by doing that, not only did it just bring you so much joy, it brought all of us joy that was witnessing it. But as you said, it helped someone else realize that they're not alone and that they too had this struggle. And hopefully she's going to be able to now not suffer in silence and find the support that she needs. So that was incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Thank you. No, it was a beautiful, beautiful experience.
You mentioned briefly and throughout our conversation about the Pick Foundation. I'd love to know why creating the Pick Foundation was so important to you, and what motivated you to create this. Again, we're talking about a period in time where not many people were talking about it. I'm sure all of this was going in your mind, like, who's going to fund this? Because it's a very unknown disorder. So what happened? Like, what motivated you, and why did you feel this desire to go ahead and create the Pick Me Foundation?
That's a great question. That's a really great question. I think it was born a bit out of survival. I'm someone who's
Yeah.
been uh, a communicator, a storyteller, and I think something that was really holding me back was this one story I would never tell. And the second I took that on, I saw something different for me, but for a whole group of people. And I remember something that was so hard. That's funny to reflect on that you just reminded me of. But even the word pick or picking me was so hard, and such a claim for me to name the organization Picking Me, because the word pick in itself was, I shuddered when I heard the word pick in daily conversations. All I could hear was the years of screams of stop picking, how bad I was with that word.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
there was something in taking that back and taking some of that storyline back and picking me that I resonated with. And I wanted that kind of ownership feeling for my people. And I think it was, this is pre-COVID, so this is a time when mental health, or starting a mental health organization, really wasn't as talked about as every day as, I mean, mental health still still a long way to go, but definitely talked
Yeah.
about more today than it was. It was very hard to get people to say what I was up to without lowering their voice, like Lauren and her mental health nonprofit was something I ran into quite frequently. But
Really. Yeah.
I from the get-go, that kind of, when I said kind of survival for me at first, but being loud and proud with this, taking those red polka dots that I was bullied and called, polka dots, and taking that and making that the branding for the company, and owning my spots, and being this red, colorful, bright, when I would go to exhibit halls with these other mental health organizations and everything is navy blue and gray, and then there's Picking Me. It was kind of like my way to
Yeah.
be me in this space, and have joy and honor play, and I'm sorry if I'm not answering your question. But you
No,
just
you are.
okay.
I think you're saying as well, like, if we were to go onto a website, it's full of color, and it's full of people not looking depressed or hopeless. It's people smiling and embracing each other, and there's just like a lot of joy. So I think maybe also part of your organization is to say, this, again, this is really serious, but there is still hope and love and warmth and connection in there, in your life, and through the support and other support and programs and therapy, we can help you find that.
Yes. Thank you for that, Meryl, so much. Yes. Thank you.
Yeah, welcome. I love asking this question, especially towards the end. As you know, skin picking and hair pulling often starts in adolescence. So we do have some young participants here. We have parents here. We have people that have been struggling for decades. And this helps others to relate to themselves a little bit more with self-compassion. And I think that is part of the key to combat shame. So I want to ask you, I don't want to lead you into the answer, but I wanted to ask you if you could speak to your younger self now, with all of this amazing power and influence and just love that you have now, and with the years of experience of having the Picking Me Foundation and speaking to amazing people in all these years, what would you say to her?
Mm. Mm. What would I say to her? Oh my gosh. I'd wrap her up in my arms immediately. And in a way that really embraced her and wasn't dancing around potential open areas or not touching my skin, which is something I've always felt like when I was younger. People didn't want to touch me too much. I felt
The
like that.
half-hearted, like
Yeah.
embrace. Yeah.
So I would wrap her up and hug her so tight.
Yeah.
I'd tell her it's gonna be worth it, you know. I'd tell her you are gonna find such a home, uh, and it's gonna be okay. I'd tell her that she's so loved right now, as she is, because that's something I didn't really always feel. So I'd want her to just know that, and that she's going to be up to some big things. um, yeah, I don't know. I went to a very like physical feeling place and thinking about me as a younger self when you asked that, and even just wanting her to know that it's okay for her to touch and be touched would be an important thing for me.
I love that. That's really beautiful and important. And thank you so much for being so open to share that with us. For those who are getting to know you now and are hearing that you share really interesting things on social media and want to get involved with the Picking Me Foundation, how can people reach out to you, get involved? And if they want to get involved, what does it mean? What can they do? Tell us a little about that.
Sure, I'd love to. There's a ton of ways to get involved with Picking Me, really from many different aspects, whether you're someone with lived experience, you're a supporter of them, or you're an education provider. I definitely start joining our newsletter, which you can do right on our website, pickingme.org, to get words from me twice a month. Ranging from stories, lived experience, tips and tricks. But also there's ways, if you continue on our website, to join the community in a volunteer sense. If you're, touched or moved and inspired by what we're up to and want to help in any ways, we have some opportunities to write about your experience, to even have video testimonials or meetups with like-minded volunteers to get together and brainstorm is something new we're offering, kind of like think tank style. I'd definitely say to check out or pre-order my new book on Amazon, which will be arriving in this December. I co-authored with this amazing doctor, Dr. Laura Chaques. It says it's for teens and young adults. I believe it's for everyone. Highly recommend that for some lived experience and expert guidance. We have support group, which I mentioned and absolutely love. And our support group does have bring a loved one or bring a supporter events and sessions. So if you stay on our newsletter, you will be updated when those dates happen. And of course, we're having a first ever skin picking conference, hosting it here in Chicago, May 2026.
It's very exciting.
So excited. Oh my goodness. Bringing together just our whole community, community leaders, participants, attendees, sponsors, speakers, everything. It's going to be incredible. So please join the email for conference updates. And also, I gotta say, I love our Drawing with Derma initiative. It's one of the first things we started at Picking Me, and it started because I remember going to, I was leading a workshop of young skin pickers. They were under 12, and I wanted to do an activity for us. So we took out pens and papers, and I asked everyone to draw what their skin picking felt like. And
Yeah.
they, drew different things, ranging from a cactus, or one little girl drew a dog and wrote an abused animal, and it still sticks with me. But then I asked them to draw their new best friend across the room, because people had made little friends in the room who also had skin picking disorder. And
Yeah.
they drew like princesses, and one was like slaying like a creature, and a knight slaying a creature, and they saw such power and beauty in their friends who had the same disorders as themselves. And that kind of birthed our Drawing with Derma art gallery, which now has over 400 submissions of art of what it, if it's hard to talk about it, let's draw about it. And I highly recommend it's a free online art gallery. You can look through so many stories and people, cultures, ages. It's just a beautiful encapsulation of our community that I'd recommend checking out.
I love that. And as we know, art is an incredible way to engage in a therapeutic way. So that's a one. I love that initiative, and maybe I'm going to send my own submission and add it to your 401.
But I love it. I absolutely love it. That's amazing. Thank you.
You're welcome. So we have a couple questions in the Q&A section. So I'd love if it's your opportunity now to send some more through, and we'll answer them. So let's see what we have here. So does Skin Pick and TrichStop have support groups for trichotillomania that is free to the public? So at this point in time, we do not have free support groups. Support groups are part of the program. But I do have something exciting to share. Not right now, not here, because it's just too soon. But we are going to be having something really special in the next couple of weeks about that. So stay tuned, subscribe to the newsletter so you get all the communication, and we'll share something really exciting. And another question is it still in the OCD and related disorders category? This is for skin picking and trichotillomania. Yes. So we're currently in the DSM-5, which was released in 2014. And that's the diagnostic statistical manual for mental health disorders that helps mental health practitioners and GPs diagnose certain conditions. And that only comes out every 10, 20, 15 years. So we do not see another manual coming out, another version coming out in the next couple of years. So it is still currently seen as an OCD and related disorder condition, but it's on its own. So it's sitting there in its own little category. It has its own signs and symptoms, its own prevalence, its own comorbidities. So it's got its own little section. So we're really proud of that. So we don't see any changes happening in the next couple of years. I don't know if you want to add something to that, Lauren.
Just maybe to add, in one way I point out that we can, they're related but different, is in OCD, you don't enjoy your compulsions, and in skin picking you can. So there can be some enjoyment or something you like about it. And that just helped me see, because there's so much similar, but there is some difference. So I love that we have our umbrella niche. Our own little area.
I'd like to give this question to you, Lauren, I think just because of the comments that were made to you in the past. So is it considered as self-harm? I find doctors are still very judgmental and strategies for self-harm don't work for me.
Pardon me. It's a great question, and I'm sorry for the judgment that you've received. And the way to define this, or to help your doctors understand this, is as if this is skin picking disorder, this is not self-harm. One of the criteria out of the 5 criteria, your diagnostic criteria, is that this is not defined by another illness, meaning one like self-harm. So the other way to look at it is intent. In skin picking, there could be no intent. I could be sitting in a car mindless and all of a sudden bleed. I could be sleeping and bleed. There's no intent. Whereas in
Yeah.
self-harm, there is intent, and the intent is to feel something, sometimes pain, but it's really to feel something. And that intent, because of that intent, that's a different act, whether the result is picking or, something that might be the result, but that initial, what got you there, is different.
Yeah.
I hope
Yeah.
that helps a little.
That's a great answer. No, it's a great answer. And I think it's one of the myths and misconceptions that we often hear, that skin picking, even hair pulling, is considered self-harm, and you've answered that perfectly. Another question is, what advice do you have for an unsupportive spouse? I wonder if you could answer that for us, Lauren.
That's a great question. That's a great question. And again, the hard situation that I feel for, what I could offer is the approach of help them, help us is something that helped me. One way was, I'll give an example with my mom. She wanted to help, right? And that could very well be your spouse, they at the root, they want to help. But what my mom's way of helping was the stop picking, Lauren, which was well intended but negatively received. One day when we were talking in the kitchen and my hands were just going everywhere and I'm telling a story and I'm animated and I don't even realize it. And she handed me a cup. And now I was like holding a cup. And I didn't know why I was holding a cup, but my hands stopped moving. And then I registered they stopped moving. And then I was holding this cup and I just kept telling the story. And we developed that at Picking Me, and we call this the handoff. So a lot of times it can be, hard for your loved one to want to help, and when their eyes maybe tell you to stop and they don't know how we're going to react to that. All of those things play into how they're coming with help towards us. But if you can try the handoff, if you can designate, okay, when we go to the movie theater, you're going to hold the fidget, and if you see my hand scanning during the scary parts when my heart is racing, and you hand me the fidget instead of saying stop that or something else that just really isn't working with me, or nothing at all, this is your way to participate in my management. This is your way to show up for me, to, hand me something. That could be the segue into it.
Yeah, I love that. And I think, again, it just goes down to there's a lot of a lack of understanding, and that leads to frustration, that leads to misjudgment, that leads to criticism, and that just leads to a whole chaotic event. So I think perhaps and I know it's really hard when you're the one experiencing all of this. You have to have self-compassion for yourself, and that's really tough. Trying to look at the person that's been unsupportive and maybe looking at them with a little bit of compassion as well, and thinking about, okay, I wonder why they're behaving this way. Could it be because they're scared? Could it be because they care so much about me that this is really hard for them to see? So maybe sometimes just looking at them with compassion can change the narrative, and help you find solutions, or just at least a direction of where you can go. But I think a lot of the time it's just giving them a bunch of resources, as you're saying, giving them a bunch of different belts so they can also tap into themselves. Again, this is something that it doesn't just affect the person that's experiencing this, it affects the entire system, so the whole family. And getting them to read about skin picking or hair pulling so they can realize, okay, this is a really serious condition that is diagnosable. It's not just an irritating habit. Yeah, so it can be really difficult though.
I love that with the compassion, though. That's such a good point. And and to add it, even knowing people's learning languages. Because like I remember
Mhm.
I would send my mom an article or something I found when I related to skin picking or BFRBs, but when I wanted to kind of connect more and have her be part of my journey. But I'd send my sister a meme, and just
Mhm.
kind of knowing
Mhm.
people's way they take information, compassionately
Yeah.
looking at what
Yeah.
would work in those
Yeah.
scenarios and then choosing
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Yeah. There's another question here. Are there any, I think this is a very frequent question because again, when it comes to mental health or any medical challenge, we want to know, is there a pill that I can take? So are there any medications known to manage picking? I am 66 and have been picking since I was a teen. It's amazing to learn about this illness as I have this month. So first of all, I'm so happy to hear that you're learning this month, and it just means that you are empowering yourself and you're adding more tools to your toolbox. That's really great. Um, at this point in time, there is not a medication that is seen to be completely effective to managing skin picking or hair pulling. There is I'm not going to attempt to say the name. I'm not going to embarrass myself, but there is a medication that is out there that's called NAC or NAC. There's a very, very long word that's attached to that. But if you Google NAC for NAC for skin picking or hair pulling, you'll get all the information. That does seem to be helpful, but it's definitely not a cure. So there is no medication right now that is deemed a cure. I don't know if you have anything else to add there, Lauren.
Just to add one thing on NAC and that yes, definitely look into NAC. Not all reports on NAC include, and not all doctors who recommend NAC know the dose of what NAC and how the dose should be delivered. So just to quickly say, coming from Dr. John Grant, who is the researcher who did the study proving that 50% of people with BFRBs will respond well to taking NAC, which is a glutamate suppressor. You do so by taking 2,400 milligrams, so which is a lot, and you take 1,200 in the morning and 1,200 at night. And just those nuances, though, are important to getting that 50% of people that this is going to work for. And I talk to so many people who say, yeah, I've tried NAC, but we're just taking the one pill in the bottle, which is 600 milligrams, and not getting the full experience. And you also have to be on it for 3 months to make a full decision of if it's actually affecting your picking or pulling. And there's there's one drug to mention, of course, to talk with your doctor about first, but there was a research study that came out recently on Mementine, which I don't know enough about to recommend, but I'm happy when I see people reporting on and trying, and there's conversation around drugs and skin picking. So that would just be the newest one I've seen talked about. But yeah, the other part I'd add is if anxiety or depression is one of our triggers for our skin picking, then we can medicate the anxiety and depression to help combat that being a trigger for the skin picking, if that made sense.
100%. And I think just what I failed to add, that's really important. If you're considering any kind of medication, even if it's a supplement or prescription type, please do consult your GP or your healthcare provider, just so that they can, we don't know what the side effects are when it comes to your particular body. So just make sure that they have your best interests at heart and they can monitor you and manage and just make sure that you're okay. We've answered another question about, just by the way, we have reached the end of the webinar. So Lauren, if you need to jump off, we will end it now. I know we have a couple more questions, but if you're open to it, we can spend a few more minutes just going through some more questions. It's complete. I know that you have a really busy day. Is that okay?
Absolutely.
We can go through a few more. Okay. All right. What else do we have here? Okay, let's read this one. I have struggled with trich for around 37 years, and I've always held so much shame about it. Hairstyles that cover my bald spots. My 9-year-old has been struggling with skin picking for the last 2 years. She never broke skin too much as she has a phobia of blood. She's now moved to hair pulling and has a significant bald spot on her head. She's not as mortified at her bald spots as I am, and she doesn't feel the need to cover them. I worry about bullying because kids are mean. How do I work through my own shame and not project it on my daughter? She's also neurodivergent with an ADHD diagnosis, and we are currently seeking autism assessment. So I wonder if her lack of concern for social awareness, not caring about bald spots, is autism related. How do I navigate this without traumatizing her and allowing us both to embrace this journey together? So first of all, I just want to say the fact that you're here on, for yourself, but also on behalf of your daughter, is amazing. And I can really just see, reading your message, how much care you have for her and how you've been so conscious about your own behavior and your own shame and your own interactions with her. That really means something. And it probably means more to her than you know. And for those who don't know, I'm a parent as well who has kids that have BFRBs. One has skin picking, the other has hair pulling. So my 8-year-old has hair pulling. So I can really resonate with this. And we know it's really important. Again, skin picking and hair pulling is often diagnosed, or it starts to emerge in adolescence. And we know that it's really important to ensure that not only is the person that's experiencing this to get support and help, but it's also for the parents as well. And that's why we designed a parent program on TrichStop and skin pick. And what the parent program really helps to do is to help, again, educate and teach you all and everything about hair pulling and skin picking. But it also teaches you how to relate and engage with your child, and learn better coping strategies to be with them and help them manage this. So that might be something that you want to consider. Yeah, and I'll let you answer this now, Lauren. But I think as a parent myself, with all my degrees and years of studying and the 20 years in working in this field, it's still really hard for me, with my kids. And because I think as a parent, all you want is just the best for them, and seeing them going through something that's not, you can't just stop. It's really challenging and difficult to witness as a parent. So my heart really goes to you, and I just want to let you know that there's a program out there to help you. Yeah, Lauren, do you want to add something?
I really echo what you were saying, though, on being here and how much you can see the care and support. And I feel it too. I think that's amazing you're here. And one thing I could maybe add would be when I didn't think about my appearance as the issue, if you will, but I thought about the time I was losing, it resonated. So sometimes because of makeup and things, I could cover my damage, clothing, and cover what I had done, and maybe kind of not see that there was, a huge problem because I'm still attending the event or for example. But when it was pointed out to me that how much time I lost, not only with the picking, but then with covering up all the picking, and I was reframed as what I could be doing with that time. I responded. I liked how I responded to that. It was motivating to have that time back, not from a place of good or bad appearance, or what bullies consider good or bad appearance, but from a place of, oh, I deserve that hour to do, my art project, or whatever it was that would have been taken away from me picking or pulling.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe.
And I think just to add to that, sorry, there's something in my throat. I think it's also important to that metaphor of when you're on that airplane is to put the oxygen mask on yourself and then to others. Even though that it is so hard to do, it's always, always, always important. And I say this so many times to loved ones who are not even picking or pulling, but just loved ones who are in the environment. It's so important to take care of yourself and address and manage what you're currently going through. So if you're still pulling, try and get that managed. And then you are well enough and equipped to help the rest and those around you. I love what you just mentioned now, Lauren, your answer, and it kind of leads to the next question. I struggle with skin picking, but my hair pulling is worse. I have a thin spot on the top and back of my head, which is noticeable for sure. Why is looking weird, which I think I do, not motivation enough to stop? I wonder if you could help with an answer there.
You know, that's a great question.
Yeah.
So there's something in our community, in our people, that I think we are such creatures of habit that we're so adaptable plus resilient. And where I'm going with this is, you know, if I still have the scab or I still had the open wound or what have you, and I was I was a figure skater back in the day, and I had a performance or something, um, I still did it. I still went to it for the most part, but meaning like would cover it up, make my costume so it couldn't show or what have you. Like I adapted to my behavior. I adapted to the damage. I found the style of clothing that hoodies. Like I had a very kind of punk stage and would only wear hoodies because hoodies, had covered a lot of surface. And I found that we're very adaptable at passing with our picking and pulling. And but that's just kind of perpetuates and keeps us like at this stagnant place and from actually growing and living the life we deserve to live. Something I think it's finding the motivation, a different motivation, and maybe with that time thing. So if it's not the motivation of perceived stigma around social beauty standards, then what could the motivation be? Could it be to get time back? Could it be to attend that event that you wouldn't have due to pulling? Maybe it's not so much the aftermath, but what the act of is taking away. If your concern isn't so much what we're left with, the aftermath of our episodes, maybe we could, go earlier. There was such routine and such cost to my picking episodes, monetarily and just personally, but maybe looking at what those motivations could be instead of the visual one.
Yeah. Thank you for that. There's one question left and then just a comment that I want to read to you. Is hair pulling or skin picking genetic or a learned behavior? I worry about my child having this. Lauren, do you want to answer? And I can maybe support with more information.
Absolutely. So there definitely needs to be more studies, but with studies and with what we know and can put together at this point, there is believed to be a genetic disposition to having BFRBs, but it's not necessarily A passed down to B, passed down to C. It's more likely that you'll see a hair puller with a nail biter to someone who might skin pick a little, and levels of severity differing. But I definitely believe that the BFRB gene is there. I do think learned behavior is a part of it. I think we model a lot of what we see when we're growing up, and it might not be the act of picking or pulling, but the maintenance towards or care of grooming that then could then manifest in a over complex and overdone way when you already have the gene, which I believe, which was my case. And I thought the twin study that I think it was Dr. John Grant also did was really interesting, because a lot of mental illness in twin studies does not affect both twins, but in this BFRB study, it did.
Yeah. I just want to have this comment quickly because I think they need to go to bed, and then I'll add to your answer. So someone just says there, I just want to say hello to Lauren. This is Julian or Jay in Australia. I was honored to meet Lauren when I was in Chicago this time last year. I'm 65 and have been picking my whole life. I only learned it was a disorder last year. P.S. It's 1 a.m. here, and thank you both for this. It's wonderful. Hi.
Oh, wow. Oh, lovely. Oh, hi, Jay.
That's lovely. So just to add to that, yes, I agree with you 100%. Lauren, your answer's spot on. And even if you were to test for a genetic factor and you do have that genetic predisposition, that doesn't mean that you're going to pick or pull. It all then, your environment then also has a play, your support system and all that kind of stuff. So yes, skin picking and hair pulling, there is a genetic factor, but just because of that, you don't need to panic and worry that your kid's going to have it. The fact again that you're here means that you're educated in this, and you're learning and you're building those resources, and you're going to be in a better position to spot those signs and to support your kids when you do pick some of these things up, and they're going to have so much of a better outcome than previously. So yeah, it's fantastic that you're asking these questions. And again, it just shows how much you care. Yeah. There was another question here about getting involved with you, Lauren. Where is it? I think it was someone asking there. Oh, here it is. Hi, Lauren. Always so lovely to hear you speak. I wondered if you're still open to applications for speakers or talks at your conference, or is the program finalized? I'm a psychologist from the UK. So how can people get in touch with you if they want to attend a conference or do something like that with you?
Absolutely. Thank you so much for asking. I would love to get in contact with you. Please, with this, in regards to speaking at the conference, I'd love if you would shoot me an email at lauren@pickingme.org. It's right on the website and on my Instagram. But yes, please shoot me an email. The program is not finalized yet. So I would definitely love to chat.
Okay, I just want to thank everyone so much for being here, and we always give a special promo code out for those who are interested in the program. It is also BFRB week, so we have a special promo code. So it's if you go to the checkout and add the code BFRB week 2025, you get $100 off your first month. So we're really excited about that. There's some really great things happening in the skin pick and the TrichStop space that I can't yet share with you guys, but I'm really happy about them. We will be announcing them in the next couple of weeks, so really stay tuned to that. And just a really big, wonderful thank you to you, Lauren, for taking the time out to speak with us, and just you know, exposing yourself and sharing so openly with all of us. It's really appreciated. So thank you. And all that, I can see all the love coming through too.
Oh my goodness.
So
Thank you
thanks.
so much, Meryl. I so appreciate being here, this
Welcome.
opportunity. I love Skin Pick. I love you. I really appreciate your questions and time. And I'm
You're
just
welcome.
so grateful to be part of this team. So
Yeah, me too. So thank you. And I definitely see that we have a lot to talk about in the new year, some announcements of your own. So we will definitely have further webinars and talks and discussions that will be recorded. I think we've learned our lesson now. And I'm looking forward to it. So thanks, everyone, and we'll see you all soon. Have a wonderful BFRB week.
woo! Thanks everyone. Yay!
Bye.
Bye.
Cheers.
Aw.
Bye.
Aw.